Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and today I thought I'd continue with my modification of my daily Bugle building because I had a really good fun time last time playing with this sign, making it ridiculously long, and I think I'd like to continue doing that and gradually turn the building into a facade to match my others. Now, the main reason for turning this building into a facade is so, well, it fits a lot better because it's got a lot of space wasted around the back. It's overhanging the road on the front, and I just think if I made it a bit less deep at the bottom and made it backless throughout so we could see into it a little bit better, then it would be all for the better. So that's what I'm going to be doing in the long run. I figured I'd start at the top because it's a bit easier, and we've already done the sign last time, and what I'll do today hopefully is amend the roof just so it's in line with the top floor, which I'm going to take the back off, shrink a little bit and make so the front isn't sort of loosely held in and all the rest of it. I may even try and address the fire escape that I don't particularly like as well. So yeah, lots to be getting on with. But before we start today's video, I did have a few comments on my sign. A lot of people thought it'd be better with it saying brick Nottingham post or some variation on that theme, but I think I'm going to stick with the ridiculously long one. I really like it. I think it's so silly that it really fits my sense of humour and really pleases me when I see it each time. One idea that is sort of an amalgam of a few that I've received is to kind of have the word post sort of different in one way. Some just suggest, say, colouring it green, or maybe having it fallen off, or doing something like that. I was thinking maybe having it sort of hanging off at an angle, like something had crashed into it, might be really good fun. So I don't know if we'll get a chance to do that as well today. But yeah, it's something that I'm definitely considering. So that would be good. But I have also had a few comments about some of my letters. The S, a lot of people didn't like, thinking that the big bit should be on the bottom rather than on the top. And I guess I did that so it's sort of aligned with the cross beams at this level for some of the existing letters, but I get that point. And a lot of people pointed out my N's being a bit problematic. And a few people suggested doing a lowercase n, kind of, with a stick and then a kind of curved bit down like that. But I really don't like that. That's not how I write an N personally, so that's kind of not how I see them, and it just doesn't really work for me. But there were a few suggestions for using a jumper plate in the middle to make it a little less sort of ugly looking. So I'm going to change those three letters, the two N's and the S, as amendments. Okay, so here's our modified sign, and there is our new N, with a grey jumper plate in the middle just supporting that tile diagonally, so there's absolutely no overlap and there's no sort of need for any quarter tiles or anything like that at the corners, and I think that's a lot better than doing it a lowercase. And you can see when I pull back that looks a lot clearer, so I really like that suggestion. A very simple and elegant one, so very good. And then there is the S as well, flipped round. Can't say I'm that bothered about it either way, to be honest, but that is fine by me, so I'll keep that as well. So there we go. There is our brick Nottingham post sign, as is. So I'll give you letter people, bedoings. There we go. And then just while I'm here, I thought I'd show you the introduction of the orange bumper car. Number 6 on the front there, because that's a 9 upside down. I had one more sticker left because I didn't need a number 9 for my golf course because the 9th hole didn't need a flag. So yeah, we can see all them going around. And this is the empty dodgem that's always sort of at the side, either being mended or just waiting for somebody to join in. So I think that is a really good addition. Another bit of different colour in a wonderfully colourful and moving scene. Yeah, I really like that. So thanks for that idea as well. Just reach for my bedoing. While we're here, another change I did today was add the plough type buffer onto the front of the Flying Knotsman, which makes it a little bit more grand. That was a really good suggestion. It does mean that inside the train shed I've had to slightly move the blue cap next to the man trapped under the tracks, just because it was a bit too near. That one actually really does skirt the top of the tracks themselves, so It's still the same scene, just slightly less near, and in fact it might even look a bit better, to be honest, so that's really good as well. So thank you very much for the plough suggestion. Right, so I've brought down the top floor and the roof, which I hope to work on both of today. And just moving them kind of proved some of the points I've been making about this set throughout, in the fact that one of the rails fell off, Spider-Man fell off, which isn't really the set's fault, and the bird fell off. It's all just a very fragile set, if you ask me. I haven't even worked out where the... Oh, there it came off, look. And this thing is completely loose and separated, as is, well, the case when you do anything with this set. So what am I trying to do? Well, if I put the lid to one side for a moment, what I'm planning to do is incorporate the front with the rest of it, so it's not on this separate sort of lift-offable, completely unattached section, and is actually built into the front. That will mean that you won't be able to access the insides by lifting out a panel, but for me in my city that isn't particularly important, and I haven't got that functionality on any of my other facades, so it isn't really that important to me. Also, I don't really need to get into Peter Parker's office, quite frankly, so that will make it a lot more structurally sound. And that structure is essential, really, because one of the other changes I'm going to be doing is removing the back wall. Now, I figure in making this a facade, I'll move kind of 3/4 of the back wall, meaning all that glass panels, all those glass panels, and all of these bricks are this sort of third section. And that should free up enough bricks when we've done that on all the floors to, well, hopefully create one more. But what I will keep is this elevator or lift sort of section, because I think it looks really good. Also, it plays very much into the idea of a facade, given at the moment that it's actually on the back walls. You'd kind of go through the lift door and go to your death. Or in this case, you'd probably be saved by the fact the billboard's on the other side of it. But in my one, you know, with the fact that it will be a facade and the rest of the building will kind of continue on into the wall, the lift shaft would be sort of through the wall as well. So that would continue to make sense. And the rest of the building probably continues on backwards on that side, but maybe even goes around the back of the lift shaft and becomes the full width again. Who knows? So I think that will work really well. Another thing I want to do is probably remove this kind of balcony from the fire escape and still keep the double ladder, so it's sort of twice the height but half as many of these, because it seems to me that you should only have one of these per floor, and that may look funny. So it may be better that, you know, for artistic license we keep that in. So I'm not 100% certain about that. So it might be by the end of this we're looking at a build that looks pretty much identical to the one we started with, and it'll look like that. Because it's only when we get to the lower floors that I'm going to really be changing the shape of it as well, by bringing in the back and so on. So yeah, it might not be the most entertaining video, but I'm just trying to make this work for my city, and when it's all done it'll look fantastic. And given that I've started on the sign, it's kind of really got my creative juices flowing, so I really want to work on this. And then finally, if I get time, I'll make the roof adjusted to fit the new building, which might actually be very simple. I can't really work out if I'll need to do much at all, because it does actually span the full width at the moment. It might just be a case of taking off some of the detail from the back, so it fits snugly with the wall. But yeah, there we go. Right, so I think the first stage is, I don't know, some disassembly, I suppose. Most fragile building ever. It continues to excel itself at being fragile. I just sort of pulled off the sort of base here from the surrounds of the walls, and this entire side made of the windows all fell apart, sort of proving my point. But the first step isn't that tricky, it turns out. Basically, the plate that was in there was 12 long, but I kind of need it to be 13 now to incorporate that one at the front, and 13 is quite a hard number to work with. But essentially just by moving the second row of plates up one to create kind of a new lip, and move these ones up one stud as well, just creating a small place that I've had to backfill on each side. I've created a lip that can take all of the flagpole and sort of bottom plate pieces to make a 13 deep base. And then I can put on my entire old front unmodified onto that and keep the sort of rail type pattern continuing up, and then we'll have sort of section, rail, and then nothing around the corner for our open back. So I think that'll work well. I still need to do something at the top when we get there to give this a bit of strength. Otherwise, it's going to be just as fragile as it was in the first place. And I've just realised I'm going to need a lot more dark red tiles to fill in these gaps. So I'm hoping I've got some. Cool, let's keep going. All right, so most of the wall's back in, albeit very loosely because we haven't got the top holding it in. Need carpet there, floor tiles here. I'm going to have to start removing things like this 1 wide pillar and replacing it with a 2 wide just so it meets the back of the building. That makes sense. And I'm also going to have to take off the extra things like this air conditioning unit, which I will recycle because it's a very good detail. I'll just have to use it probably on a different building entirely. And the same goes for this really cool billboard. I'll keep that to one side. But that does mean that we've kind of now got, if we can look through the windows, God, that's how fragile it is. We've got the lift shaft there on the right, still intact. And then we've got a gap through to the rest of the building on both of these sections here. So that looks really good, I think. And then I have removed the second sort of balcony bit of the fire escape. So it might be ultimately that I have one of the balconies, then 2 heights of ladders, then the next one. Already though, this was and still is a kind of ladder to nowhere in the sense that it will be the roof here. So maybe that needs incorporating actually into the roof layer as well. Anyway, it'll look kind of like that all the way down. And I think that looks a bit better. What do you think? Sort of longer ladder between each balcony. Yep, I mean, they are more susceptible to sort of bending around, but it also means that we can get a bit more sort of light in, because at the moment this had all of this wall here to kind of support this, and really I could replace it with more of these clear panel pieces to make this more of a window. So I haven't fully decided on that. That might come when we've done a bit more, because then I can decide whether I need the liberated glass for a new floor, or whether I actually have some to spare, because I've already liberated 2 whole sections of this and an absolute fistful of sort of rails and the bricks that hold them on for another floor. So that's really good news, and even some spare wall section, which I'll probably be cannibalizing to fill in all of the gaps I'm creating. Cool. Right, so I need to hold all of these walls in place with a modified sort of version of this, the bit that's sort of holding all of the sections together around the top. Well, this may look very similar to where we started, but I can assure you that it is really quite different. And the main difference being that I can really give this a good bashing and it doesn't fall apart. And that is the main thing I was going for. The second thing is we have got the open back, which makes it a facade. And I've actually changed the interior a lot more than I originally planned. I realised I did have a great big bag of dark red bricks that I still have from my GBC factory build, where I accidentally bought too many, and that's enabled me to kind of continue the theme around this section to sort of hint that maybe this is a reception desk for this floor, and that after you've sort of checked in coming out of the lift, you go through this doorway to a number of offices, of which this is only one of them. So kind of the interior wall colour here is dark red, and that really works on the inside. I think you'll agree. So yeah, I really like that. We've covered the fire escapes. There's really not much else to it, other than it's exactly the same height. We've got the rails right to the top rim there. We've got it right to the bottom edge there. So we won't lose the quintessential sort of outlook of the building. And I could have removed this at this point. This was the bit that the original sort of spider buggy was attached to, or in my case, this guy who is Venom. No, Carnage, isn't he? This is the problem. No, he's Venom. He's Venom. This is the problem I have. I don't really know all these characters. I just started watching the films, to be honest. I watched Thor Ragnarok. It's all right. It was quite funny in places. So anyway, I digress. But I thought I would keep that in case I wanted to put something else on there in due course. I mean, I could even just put on the air conditioning with the bird on, for instance, as a stopgap. But yeah, I quite like that being there. It sort of keeps my creative juices flowing, because I am also thinking of adding quite a lot of detail to the outside of this building, much like the original had with all of the Marvel characters, but I'm going to do it differently because I like to do something different from everyone else, as you'll know. So yeah, that was quite easy. I didn't use many new parts from my own collection, and actually I liberated an absolute ton in return. So yeah, it's working really well. Right, so I'm going to move on to the roof and see if I have to do anything at all or something quite significant. But what I do think I'll try at least is kind of adding the next balcony for the fire escape to that floor, because I figure you need roof access via there, because otherwise what on earth is the point of this entire ladder? Well, I've just started taking the bricks off this back corner, and it occurs to me with this one deep plate here that this whole section is actually done to the new scale of 13 studs deep already, and that's because this front bit overhung the 1 wide detachable bit as well as the 12 wide building bit. So this should be the right dimensions already, and it is. So really what I need to do to this is a lot more superficial. Basically, I need to, well, remove this entire back wall, because otherwise it kind of hints that the building ends at that depth, and we want it to be perceived to continue on into the wall. So I'll remove all of that stuff. And then we just need to put one of these on this corner rather than a corner one that goes in 2 directions. And then I can try the fire escape. Yeah, so then I'll put a couple of 1x4 plates on there and build that into that wall. So what do we think of that when that's sort of built in? Actually, I'll probably have to have a gap in this edging so people could actually get on the fire escape. Yeah, I think that looks better, you see. That actually, to me, looks more like a real-life fire escape. What do you think? And now we've got roof access, of course, and I think they do have that in real life. And bearing in mind that the huge brick Nottingham post sign is going to conceal this to a great degree, it's not going to be a major feature or anything. But yeah, I think that's better. And I do think that if we can at the end, I think I should try and get more glass in here. I think that would also look good. Yeah, cool. So, right, I'm going to finish that. This is actually turning out to be a little bit easier than I'd feared. Well, that's a really neat edge, and just using pieces that were already in the set. And it's very easy to lift off, easier than it was before actually, partially because you've only got to straighten these little bits on the front afterwards and nothing falls off. And then the other side is really smooth as well. I don't know whether to connect this top of this ladder to it or if you just need to sort of arrange it, but it looks pretty good as it is. I don't think it'd be too hard to clip it to the underside. And what I've done here is exactly the same, except I put one of those 1x4s with only 2 studs on, and that's so I can kind of incorporate it into the wall edging like that, but also leaving a gap so people could use it in the event of a fire. And then the only bit I don't like is the fact that we've got that red plate or the end of it showing, so I figured we could make some little steps up to there from the roof level. And what does every avid Lego fan like to put on steps? Yep, tread plate stickers. So I can put one step there with a tread plate on and another one there, and if it's slightly in the way of this big array then maybe we can move that in due course, but I think that looks a lot better. And you know what, I'm going to say it, I think I was right about the fire escape. I think when we've got one more floor, so the building's a bit taller and we've got one every floor rather than 2 a floor, I think this is going to look better. And then I think the final thing is that we can actually put this on top of the old building. I don't see why it wouldn't work. I haven't got time today to do all the other floors in this style, especially the lower down ones that are going to require a lot more effort, because we're going to have to sort of shrink them from sort of 3 panels deep to 2 panels deep. But this has been a really useful proof of concept, and I apologise that the result is a little bit boring. I suppose we can make it a little bit more exciting by reintroducing our ridiculous sign with fixed ends to here, and this is where it probably snaps and makes me look silly, but no, there we go. Ha ha! But I think that is looking much improved, and it's definitely a lot more stable. Oh, and I've made a whole load of new parts as well. Even better. Now this session may well qualify for the least apparent change from beginning until end, but actually there have been quite a few changes that we've made, and we've also proved the concept that we can change this into a facade building and make it a lot more strong. It fits on very well indeed, because it is technically the same dimensions, but you see now we haven't got the rails on the back on our new section, and we haven't got the walls on the back, so we can see through it a lot more easily. I like that as well. And then probably my favourite change is the fire escape. What do you think? Do you think the double height one is better? I mean, it's more realistic, and I do quite like the one on the very top floor with the roof, of course. Now imagine this building has got at least 1 story more, maybe 2, I don't know yet, we'll do one at a time. Then I think it'll be in better proportion having them spread out like this. And indeed it's in better proportion to the one right at the bottom, which I've just folded out, because that's double height as well, as you might expect. So yeah, I quite like that. And then the roof we've just taken off the back really, so it looks like it could be part of the facade, but that is working well as well. So the only thing that I talked about at the beginning was maybe making this sign have a bit of a kink in it, a bit of a bend, like it had a bit of an accident. And for that, I'm going to use these pieces. They are in brown, so this is just a trial run, and it's really to get your opinion because I value it very much. And basically, as it stands, the joke is that the sign is ridiculously long. So yeah, it was working very well at that. Now, if I have a broken sign, then, well, have I lost that original joke? I don't know. So I'm just going to do a very quick and ugly sort of mock-up of what it might look like. You can give me your feedback in the comments section, and then I can do a more permanent solution if we think it's something we want to keep. So how's about that? Now, don't worry that the bugle isn't quite right. We might be changing that anyway. And definitely don't worry about the fact that the brown plates are not dark bluish grey, because I do think I have some, but I'll have to liberate them from where they are at the moment while I order some more. So don't worry about those 2 facts. Purely just the angle of that broken sign. I think it's quite funny. It's definitely the right angle. You wouldn't want it falling at 90 degrees. But then again, does it look even more silly? Bearing in mind we are actually next to the Leaning Tower of Ferrari, which makes a lot of people ask, is that thing leaning? Yes, it is leaning. It's supposed to be. So maybe we don't want to have too many disasters in the same neighbourhood. I don't know. But you've got to admit that's quite funny. And maybe if I reattached Spider-Man's web to the bottom of it or something, it might look like he was pulling it down or something like that. Yes, so answers in the comments section as to whether you think the sort of sabotaged post part of the sign is a good idea. Otherwise, I think I'll leave it there for today, but I will be concentrating on the other, 3 floors at the moment, and then the brand new 4th floor in coming days and weeks, I think, because I'm liking this transformation and I want to get it done. Actually, that reminds me, I need a yellow-skinned head for Firestar if I'm going to keep her, although Mrs. Hood has claimed her for her own tiny Lego collection, so maybe I won't bother and will let her take her, because I am actually thinking, as I said earlier, of de-marveling the whole thing with regard to the characters, but we will see in time. But as always, thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe, especially comments about the proposed bent sign. And if you value this channel, there are many ways in which you can support it. So do check out all of the links in the description below. And next time on Robin Hood Bricks, we'll be doing Brick Haul 100, which I have actually filmed because we did it at the weekend. I had Mrs. Hood's help, and it was absolutely humbling to get all that wonderful love through all of your letters and contributions to the city and so on. We have actually had to do that as 2 parts because it was just getting ridiculously long. So there'll be kind of 2 Brick Haul 100s, or a 100 and 101 over successive weeks. So don't worry if your package hasn't made the first half. So until then, see you.